The day I finally left wasn't marked by screaming or dramatic declarations. It was the silence that broke me, the same suffocating silence that filled the dining room as my mother-in-law Bianca meticulously rearranged the table setting I'd spent hours preparing. I'm Francesca, and for 6 years I tried to be the perfect wife and daughter-in-law. That night, like countless others, I stood frozen in the doorway, watching Bianca adjust each fork with surgical precision. "Darling," she said without looking up, "I realize you weren't raised in certain circles, but surely someone taught you that fish forks belong on the outside." Her voice dripped with the same sweetness she used when pointing out my other countless failures. I glanced at Brent, my husband, who suddenly became fascinated with his phone. He always found something else to focus on when his mother started her routine. "Mom, please," he mumbled, not even looking up. "I'm only trying to help," Bianca replied, patting my cheek as she passed by. "Heaven knows she needs it. Remember that charity gala last month? The board members are still talking about her unique interpretation of formal wear." My hands trembled as I poured the wine. 6 years of these little cuts, these perfectly aimed barbs. I'd built my walls brick by brick, but they were crumbling. "Actually," I said, setting down the bottle with a sharp clink, "I received several compliments on that dress, from people who matter." Bianca's eyebrows shot up. "Oh? And who might that be? The catering staff?" That's when Riley's words from lunch earlier that day echoed in my head. "You're not living, Fran. You're surviving. There's a difference." I looked at Brent again, still absorbed in his screen. In that moment, I saw our future with crystal clarity. Decades of these dinners, these subtle degradations, this silence. "I'm done," I whispered, then louder, "I'm done." "Excuse me," Bianca's fork clattered against fine china. "Thank you for dinner," I said, standing up, "and for showing me exactly who I don't want to become." Brent finally looked up. "Fran, sit down. Mom's just trying to help." "No," I cut him off. "She's not. She never was. And you never once defended me. Not once in 6 years." I walked out of that dining room, past the imported Italian furniture Bianca had insisted on buying for our house, past the family photos where my smile never quite reached my eyes. I packed a bag while Brent followed me around, making weak protests about working things out and family obligations. But as I drove away that night, watching our house shrink in the rearview mirror, I felt something I hadn't in years. Hope. I had no idea what came next, but for the first time in 6 years, I was breathing freely. "You're seriously considering giving up your entire client list?" Riley stared at me across her kitchen table, 3 months after I'd left Brent. "The same clients who've been booking you for years?" I nodded, stirring my now cold coffee. "They're all Bianca's friends or connections. I need a clean break." "That's crazy brave," she said, then grinned. "I love it, but how are you going to start over?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Another text from Brent. "Please come home, Mom feels terrible." I deleted it without responding. "I've been sketching some ideas," I said, pulling out my tablet. "Look at this concept for modern offices. No more stuffy mansions filled with antiques that nobody actually wants to live with." Riley leaned in, her eyes widening. "This is different. In a good way, but you'll need capital." "I've got savings," I said. "And something else." I pulled out a business card. "Remember Glenn Hunt, the developer who loved my work on the Henderson project?" The one Bianca said was new money. "That's him. He's been trying to get me to work with him for years. I have a meeting with him tomorrow." The next day, I sat in Glenn's sleek downtown office, hands steady as I presented my portfolio. He listened intently, occasionally nodding. "Bianca Willis won't be happy about this," he said finally. "I'm not married to her son anymore," I replied, "or her opinions." He laughed, a deep, genuine sound. "About damn time. I've watched you dim your light for years, Francesca. Your ideas were always better than the safe choices she pushed you toward. So, you'll help me? Better." He slid a contract across the desk. "I'm developing a new tech complex. 6 buildings, full creative control. Show me what you can really do." My hands trembled as I read the terms. The budget was more than I'd handled in my entire career. I don't know what to say. Say you'll stop playing small. The industry needs fresh voices, not more of the same tired designs Bianca's crowd loves. That night, I called Riley from my small apartment. He gave me the contract, I practically shouted. Holy shit! We need to celebrate. But wait, we who? You'll need a team. I took a deep breath. Actually, I was hoping you'd consider leaving your firm. Be my partner. You handle the business side. I'll handle design. The silence lasted 3 seconds. When do we start? For the first time since leaving Brent, I felt electricity in my veins. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about becoming who I was always meant to be. Tomorrow, I said. We start tomorrow. Have you seen this? Riley burst into my office, waving the latest issue of Design Today magazine. My face stared back from the cover under the headline, Rising Star, the woman revolutionizing corporate spaces. 2 years had transformed our small startup into one of the city's most sought-after design firms. The Tech Complex project had won 3 awards, and our client list now included names that would have made Bianca's social circle seethe with envy. Samantha's going to be thrilled, I said, referring to our PR head. She's been chasing this feature for months. Did you read what they wrote? Riley perched on my desk, flipping to the article. Francesca's designs challenge the traditional corporate aesthetic, creating spaces that feel both professional and alive. They called you a visionary. My phone buzzed, Glenn requesting a lunch meeting. Perfect timing. An hour later, I sat across from him at our usual spot. Congratulations on the cover, he said, raising his water glass. Though I'm not surprised. That last project you did downtown? Masterful. I learned from the best. No, he set down his glass firmly. You learned despite the worst. Big difference. A waiter approached with our usual orders, but Glenn waved him away. His expression had turned serious. Listen, Francesca. Hayden Sanderson's been asking about you. My stomach tightened. Hayden was our biggest competitor, known for aggressive takeovers of smaller firms. What does he want? To buy you out. He's offering 7 figures. I laughed, but Glenn didn't smile. He's serious. And he's not the only one interested. You've built something valuable here, something that's disrupting the old guard. That makes you both attractive and dangerous. I'm not selling, I said firmly. Good. Glenn leaned back, finally smiling. Because I have a better proposition. The city's redeveloping the old theatre district. They're looking for something revolutionary. I suggested you. My heart raced. The theatre district project was massive, career-defining. That would be incredible. It's yours if you want it. But, he hesitated, there's something else you should know. I heard through the grapevine that Bianca's company is struggling. Her old clients are jumping ship. Before I could respond, my phone lit up with a notification. An email from an address I hadn't seen in 2 years. From Bianca Willis. Subject: Urgent matter. Speak of the devil, I muttered, showing Glenn the screen. He raised an eyebrow. The universe has interesting timing. Question is, are you going to open it? I stared at the notification, my finger hovering over the screen. After everything she'd done, everything she'd said, Bianca was reaching out. But why now? Only one way to find out, I said, and tapped the email. The click of Bianca's heels on our office's polished concrete floors sent me back in time. But this wasn't her carefully curated mansion. This was my territory, my success, my rules. Your receptionist made me wait, she said, standing in my doorway. Her designer suit hung slightly loose. Her makeup couldn't quite hide the strain around her eyes. She's good at her job, I gestured to a chair. Please sit. Bianca perched on the edge, her usual commanding presence diminished. I saw your magazine cover. I'm sure you did. You've done well for yourself. The words seemed to physically pain her. You didn't come here to discuss my success, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Your email mentioned an urgent matter. She clutched her handbag tighter. My company is facing some temporary difficulties. Bankruptcy isn't temporary, Bianca. Her head snapped up. How did you... It's my business to know what's happening in the industry. I leaned back in my chair. Your clients are looking for something fresh, something modern. They're tired of the same old designs. I need a loan, she blurted out. Just until I can restructure. The irony wasn't lost on me. The woman who'd once called me a gold digger was now asking for money. Have you talked to Brent? He's not in a position to help. She looked away. The divorce was expensive. Divorce? He married his secretary 6 months ago. She's expecting. I let that sink in. The perfect son had finally disappointed his perfect mother. Riley appeared in the doorway, then froze. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't. It's fine, I said. Bianca was just leaving. Please, Bianca's voice cracked. I wouldn't ask if I had any other option. I'll lose everything. I studied her face, the face that had smiled while tearing me down countless times. But instead of satisfaction, I felt something unexpected. Pity. Have tea with me tomorrow, I heard myself say. The cafe on 7th, 2 p.m. Tea? She looked confused. Yes. If you want my help, we're going to discuss terms. Professional terms. She stood, smoothing her skirt. I'll be there. After she left, Riley rushed in. Was that really? Yeah. Are you actually considering helping her? I walked to the window, watching Bianca's figure disappear into a taxi. I'm considering something, but not what she's expecting. Fran, Riley's voice held a warning. Don't worry, I turned back, smiling. I learned from the best, remember? Tomorrow I'm going to teach Bianca exactly what that means. The cafe buzzed with afternoon energy as Bianca settled across from me, her teacup rattling slightly against its saucer. You're looking well, she said, attempting her old social grace. Let's skip the small talk. I placed a folder on the table. I've reviewed your company's finances. How did you... Public records. You're not just in trouble, Bianca, you're drowning. She stared into her tea. What are your terms? A merger. Her head snapped up. Excuse me? Your company merges with mine. You bring your client connections. I bring my innovation. We both win. You want me to work for you? Her voice rose slightly, drawing glances from nearby tables. With me, I corrected, as a junior partner. 20% stake. 20? She almost choked. I built my company over 30 years. And I built mine in 2. The difference is, mine's actually worth something. The old Bianca would have stormed out. This one gripped her teacup tighter. There's more, I continued. You'll need to publicly endorse my design philosophy. Full support, no undermining. One negative word, and the deal's off. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Her voice was barely a whisper. No, Bianca. I'm doing business. You taught me that, remember? At every dinner party, every social event, every family gathering, you taught me exactly how to treat people I consider beneath me. She flinched. The difference is, I slid the folder toward her. I'm offering you a chance to rebuild. That's more than you ever gave me. She started, then stopped. I didn't realize. Save it. I stood up. You have until tomorrow to decide. Oh, and one more thing. Brent called me yesterday. Her eyes widened. He wanted to have coffee, catch up. I declined. Unlike some people, I don't believe in poaching other women's husbands. Later that evening, I sat in Riley's living room nursing a glass of wine. You really offered her a merger? Riley asked, incredulous. Samantha thinks it's brilliant PR. Industry pioneer merges with traditional powerhouse. Plus, I swirled my wine, having Bianca Willis publicly praise my work, that's worth more than money. It's ruthless, Riley said, then grinned. I love it. But can you actually work with her? I don't have to like her. I just have to win. My phone buzzed. A text from Bianca. I accept your terms. Game on, I murmured, showing Riley the message. You know this changes everything, right? I thought about the upcoming theatre district project, about Hayden's attempted buyout, about all the pieces falling into place. That's exactly the point. And how are you finding the new partnership, Bianca? The reporter from Business Weekly leaned forward, recorder in hand. Francesca's vision is revolutionary, Bianca replied, each word carefully measured. I've learned so much working with her. I watched from across the conference room, suppressing a smile. 3 weeks into our merger, and Bianca was playing her part perfectly. The press was eating it up, the established design maven embracing modern innovation. Ms. Willis, Samantha cut in smoothly, perhaps you'd like to share your thoughts on the Theatre District project. Before Bianca could respond, a familiar voice interrupted from the doorway. Interesting setup you've got here, Fran. Brent. Standing there in his expensive suit, looking exactly like the man who'd let his mother destroy our marriage. This is a private meeting, I said firmly. Is it? He glanced at Bianca. Mum, you didn't mention this interview when we had dinner last night. Samantha expertly ushered the reporter out, leaving us in tense silence. What do you want, Brent? I asked. Can't a man visit his 2 favourite women? He smiled that practiced smile, especially when they're making headlines together. Cut the act, I said. Your new wife know you're here? His smile faltered. Actually, I'm here about Hayden Sanderson. He reached out to me. Of course he did. He's planning something for the gala next week, something big. Bianca stood up straighter. The Theatre District announcement gala? What's he planning? A competing bid, Brent said. He's got investors, connections. He wants to tank your presentation. And you're telling us this out of the goodness of your heart, I asked. Maybe I feel guilty. Maybe I want to make amends. Or maybe, I stepped closer, Hayden promised you something in return. A piece of the project, perhaps. His silence was answer enough. Get out, I said quietly, and tell Hayden that if he wants to play games, he should remember who taught me how to win them. I glanced at Bianca. After Brent left, Bianca turned to me. Hayden's dangerous, Francesca. He'll do anything to win this contract. I know. That's why we're going to beat him at his own game. I pulled out my phone. Riley, get Glenn on the line. We need to move up our timeline. What are you planning? Bianca asked. Something worthy of your best social manipulations, I replied. But this time you're going to help me do it right. For the first time since our merger, I saw a genuine smile cross Bianca's face. Just tell me what you need. Everything you've got, I said. Because next week's gala isn't just about winning a contract. It's about making sure Hayden never underestimates us again. The gala sparkled with city elite, but all eyes were on Hayden as he took the stage. His confidence radiated as he unveiled his Theatre District proposal. All glass and steel. Impressive but soulless. $1 billion investment in the city's future, he announced proudly. I felt Riley squeeze my arm. Ready? Born ready. I stood up, smoothing my dress. Bianca caught my eye from across the room and gave an almost imperceptible nod. And now, the event coordinator announced, we'll hear from Francesca Harper Designs. I walked to the stage, tablet in hand. The projector hummed to life. Mr. Sanderson's proposal is impressive, I began. But the Theatre District isn't just about buildings, it's about stories. My designs appeared on the screen, a perfect blend of historic architecture and modern innovation. But that wasn't the surprise, which is why I'm proud to announce our partnership with the city's Arts Education Initiative. I gestured to Glenn, who stood up. 10% of all project profits will fund performing arts programs in underprivileged schools. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Hayden's smile faltered. But wait, he interrupted, stepping forward. Your company doesn't have the resources for this scale. Unless, Bianca's voice rang out as she walked to the stage, you have the full backing of Willis Design's client network and 30 years of industry connections. Hayden's face reddened. This is unprecedented. Actually, Glenn joined us, it's exactly what the City Council was hoping for. Tradition meeting innovation, with a focus on community impact. The room erupted in applause. I caught Brent's shocked expression near the back. He hadn't expected this level of collaboration between his mother and ex-wife. This is ridiculous, Hayden sputtered. Bianca, you can't possibly support this modern nonsense. Your reputation. My reputation? Bianca's voice cut like steel. My reputation is now tied to the most innovative design firm in the city, and I couldn't be prouder of my daughter-in-law's vision. The room fell silent. Hayden looked from Bianca to me, realizing he'd been outmaneuvered on every front. Former daughter-in-law, I corrected with a smile. And Hayden, next time you try to sabotage someone, don't send their ex-husband as your messenger. The city council chairman approached the stage, beaming. I think we've seen everything we need to see. Francesca, the contract is yours. As celebration erupted around us, Riley appeared with champagne. That was beautiful, she whispered. But did you see Bianca's face when she called you her daughter-in-law? I glanced at Bianca, who was already working the room like the social maven she'd always been. But now she was singing my praises instead of tearing me down. Sometimes, I said, taking a sip of champagne, the best revenge isn't destruction, it's reconstruction. You didn't have to invite me to lunch, Bianca said, settling into her chair at the rooftop restaurant overlooking our nearly completed theatre district project. Actually, I did. I passed her a folder. These are your new shares. 30%. She stared at the documents. But our agreement was 20. You've earned it. The arts initiative was your idea, and it's transformed the whole project. I learned from you, she said quietly. All those years, I was so focused on maintaining the old way, I couldn't see the possibility of something better. Speaking of better, I nodded toward the construction site. The Children's Theatre opens next week. First performance is already sold out. I saw the guest list, she smiled, including Brent and his wife. And you're okay with that? I'm learning to be. His daughter, my granddaughter, she's actually quite precious. Glenn appeared at our table, grinning. Sorry to interrupt, ladies, but you need to see this. He handed me his phone. Hayden's company was being investigated for financial irregularities. Karma, Bianca murmured. No, I said, handing the phone back. Just consequences. Francesca, Bianca touched my hand, surprising me. I know I can never fully make up for how I treated you. You're right, you can't. I met her eyes. But that's not why I helped you. Then why? Because holding on to anger was dimming my light, just like you used to. I needed to let it go, not for you, but for me. Riley appeared with Samantha carrying champagne. Sorry we're late. The contractor needed approval on the theatre's final touches. As they joined us, I looked around the table, my mentor, my best friend, my PR wizard, and the woman who'd once been my biggest enemy, now all working together to build something meaningful. A toast, Glenn raised his glass. To burning bridges. No, I said, smiling. To building them instead. Bianca's eyes glistened as she raised her glass. Below us, the theatre district sparkled in the sunlight, a testament to what happens when you choose creation over destruction. You know what the best part is? Riley asked, grinning at me. What's that? You didn't just prove Bianca wrong about you. You proved her wrong about everything. About success, about power, about what really matters. She did more than that, Bianca said softly. She showed me a better way to be. I looked out at the city. My city now, in many ways. The view was different from up here, but then again, so was I. To better ways, I raised my glass, and to the stories we choose to tell. Around the table, glasses clinked in agreement, the sound ringing clear and true like a final curtain call.